From my experience and from everyone else who I spoke to whilst I was travelling the country's experience, they said it was one of the safest countries they visited, and the locals are some of the most friendly and welcoming that they have experienced anywhere in the world. So when I first told people that I was going to be travelling Morocco, one of the first things that pretty much everyone said is it safe there? Is it dangerous? You'll have to be careful over there, you'll have to watch yourself. I've heard bad things about Morocco, and I really don't understand where that misconception about Morocco comes from, because from my experience and from everyone else who I spoke to whilst I was travelling the country's experience, they said it was one of the safest countries they visited, and the locals are some of the most friendly and welcoming that they have experienced anywhere in the world. And in this video, I'm going to share with you my experiences and some of my safety tips for travelling Morocco after I spent 3 weeks travelling the amazing country earlier this year. So as I said earlier, in 2020, I spent 3 weeks travelling Morocco, and I've done a full video series on my time there, from travel vlogs, I've done a travel guide, and I've also done a short film. All of them are in my Morocco travel videos playlist that will be linked on screen right now, and it will be down in the description. So if you want to see anything or everything in more detail about Morocco, check out the videos that will be linked over there. Now, obviously, I'm talking about how safe is Morocco in this video, but one thing I won't be touching on is the current pandemic. At the time of recording this, Morocco does still remain closed for tourism, but obviously these things are changing very, very quickly, but you don't know what's going to be happening with the pandemic, so I'm not going to comment on that. I'm just going to be discussing safety from every other aspect, in terms of, like, is it safe for solo travelers? Do you see a lot of pickpocketing? Do you get scammed quite a lot? Those type of topics is what I will be discussing, but nothing on the pandemic. Now, one of the most common things that I actually read online, and you've probably read online if you are researching about traveling Morocco, is that pickpocketing is common over there. And from my experience, I'd probably say that describing it as common is quite harsh, to be honest. During my 3 weeks there, I witnessed it twice, and it was once in Marrakesh and once in Fez. And obviously, if you see pickpocketing happen whilst you're traveling as a tourist, it's never a nice thing to see. But one of the things that did happen, which I've not actually seen in other countries, was the second it happened, the locals surrounded the person who actually stole from the tourist, immediately got back. It was a phone on both occasions. They got back the phone, gave it straight to the tourist, and dealt with the person who stole immediately. And if I'm being honest, on both occasions, not that it makes it any better, but both occasions, the tourists who I actually seen were pickpocketed. They weren't using any common sense whatsoever. It was both in the Marrakesh Medina and the Fez Medina. They were walking around with their phone in the back pocket in a very, very crowded area. You just don't do that anywhere in the world, especially in the most crowded areas of the two of the biggest, most popular destinations for tourists in the country. However, apart from that, I actually didn't see any safety issues in Morocco whatsoever. Maybe some of the driving on the buses and taxis was a bit extreme, going a bit too fast around some mountains and stuff like that, but you get that in a lot of countries when traveling, and it's just kind of part of the culture. But apart from that, everything was actually amazing. It was one of the safest places I actually traveled to, and one of the big bits of advice that I would give you is try and learn a couple of phrases in Arabic or French, as that's what most of the locals will speak. And if they see you go in an effort to get involved in their culture and obviously trying to make effort with them, then they will try and make more effort with you. And as I said, they're very welcoming people anyway, but if they see you're going the extra mile, they'll do the exact same back for you, and you'll just have a much better time in Morocco. But now I'm actually going to share a couple of safety tips that I would advise you to follow if you do actually travel Morocco, and they're kind of specific to Morocco. I'm not going to go over the generic ones. I'm going to try and actually keep them specific to Morocco, so I'm going to share a few of them with you right now. The first tip is slightly generic, if I'm being honest, but it's avoid walking late at night, only in the Medina though, because in other cities, maybe in Europe or other places in the world, there's not these Medinas where it's very small, narrow streets. In the Fez Medina, there's over 9,000 streets. It's not the type of place you want to be walking on your own at night when you can't see, because a lot of these streets don't actually have lights on either. So as soon as it goes dark in Morocco, it's dark in the Medina. So if you are going out at night, try and stay with a group or just stay local to your accommodation, so you don't have to be trying to trek through the Medina, because trust me, you will get lost in the Medina. I did many times, but thankfully it was just during the day. Now, my next tip is actually quite a strange one, and I was telling people whilst we were traveling about this, and they didn't believe me, but then the second you research it, you do actually realize it's true. And it is that giving the thumbs up in Morocco or certain Arabic cultures is actually seen as highly offensive, whereas in Europe and the rest of the world, people give thumbs up to praise them, to say hello, to say thank you. It's usually used to show something good, whereas in some cultures it's actually quite offensive to do that. So you best avoid using it just in case you annoy the locals or offend them. It's just not something you want to do, so just don't do that when you're in Morocco. Another tip is regarding the taxis, and it is to always agree a price beforehand, because pretty much every taxi over there does actually have a meter, but the chance of the taxi drivers using the meter for tourists is slim to none. I didn't actually meet anyone who actually managed to convince the taxi drivers to go on the meter, so it's not even worth trying, to be honest. You can give it a go, but trust me, it's just not going to happen. So the best way to do it is always agree a price before you actually get in the taxi.
Oh, it's 150, it's okay.
150?
I just verify, Medina just...
Mate, I was here 2 days ago, paid 40.
Oh, just 2 days too.
I was literally here 2 days ago, paid 40 from the hostel to here.
One hand, that is okay.
No chance, no chance.
Because likelihood is if you just get in the taxi and drive there, the price is going to be quite higher than what it should be. So they'll probably offer you a price, and it tends to be around 30% is what you should actually settle on. So if they say 100 dirham, you go for 30 and they will end up settling for that. Never pay full price though, because it's part of the culture. They enjoy it, and as tourists you can actually enjoy the haggling of prices. It's actually something fun to get involved with, but never settle on the first price given to you in taxis, and that goes for quite a lot of things, especially when you're shopping in markets. Never settle for the price that's actually on the board, because it's very much overpriced. And one tip that I actually have in terms of haggling and in general is never actually raise your voice in Morocco, because it's not the best way to communicate with the locals. It's actually another thing that's seen quite offensive if you actually raise your voice and get angry. So the best thing to do is just learn how to say no in Arabic or French, or they'll even just know what you mean in English, and simply walk away. And this works great with taxi drivers, because most of the time they will actually just chase after you with the official price and you get a much better deal. You don't have to have any arguments or get in any confrontation. You just simply say no, walk away, and then you'll get the price that you need. Another tip that is very specific for Morocco is to not fall for the Tanneries trick, which is very common in Marrakesh and Fez. Less so in Marrakesh now, but it still happens a lot in Fez, as I know personally from the people who were staying in my hostel. They said they actually fell for it, and it's essentially where a local will say that they know where the best view of the Tanneries is, and they'll say, follow me, and they essentially just lead you to a family-run shop or a shop that's run by their friends, and most of the time they probably might actually have a good view of the Tanneries, but they won't let you leave until you actually buy something from there, because they see it as a tour guide. And sometimes they will actually take you to a shop that doesn't even have any view of the Tanneries whatsoever. So if you are going, try and arrange it with someone that you know who you can trust, either through the hostel or get recommendations from other travellers that you meet along the way, because you can visit the Tanneries without falling for this trick. But apart from that, if you just use common sense and obviously follow universal travel safety rules, like not showing any wealth and obviously not keeping your valuables out on display, things like that, then you will be completely fine in Morocco, because as I said at the start, it was one of the most welcoming and safe countries I feel like I've travelled, especially in Essaouira and Tagazout, which are coastal towns, which again you can check out the videos that I've done on them places from my travel vlogs. They were literally such a cool, laid back and very relaxing place just to spend a couple of days there whilst I was traveling Morocco, and they were probably some of my favorite places. And as I said, the locals are very, very friendly, particularly if you make efforts to adapt to their culture. They will see you making an effort and they will make more of an effort with you. But if you did find this video useful, or any of the tips that I did mention, then please be sure to let me know by leaving a like, put any comments or questions down below in the comment section, and check out my travel guide that is available on my website now for Morocco, and all the travel blogs and videos that I have done. As I said, everything will be linked down below in the description if you want more Morocco content. But thank you all for watching. Until next time, goodbye.